name is Dr. Roland Gauder. I'm from Germany, and I have a company close to the area of Stuttgart, in the southern part of Germany, where we manufacture our loudspeakers. And I'm a lecturer in physics. Yes, I have some students over the years, and my hobby is mathematics and physics. And when I started a long time ago in the loudspeaker industry, I said I would like to do something different than all the other designers. And I read all the papers of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and I found out there is a lack in knowledge of mathematics and physics in loudspeaker design, just because it's very complicated to calculate the driver, the cabinet, and the crossover as a whole. So here, small theory tells us about the cabinet, and that tells us about first order crossovers. But the whole thing together, the drivers, the cabinet, and the crossover, has never been done before. And so in the 80s, I said, just take a time and make a new theory to find some new knowledge about loudspeakers. And the big thing is that you have some formula where you calculate the components in the crossover. And these formula, they contain the frequency, of course. You have bass, mids, and highs. But in physics, we have a special thing that we call a transformation. And that means if you are not able to calculate something in the real world, you have to go to an imaginary world where it's much easier to calculate everything. And then when you found the solution in the imaginary world, you can come back to the real world with the backwards transformation. And these transformations, they help you a lot. And what I do is the so-called Laplace transformation. And that means I do not calculate with real frequencies, but I calculate with imaginary frequencies. And so the normal human being is just one-dimensional. We have numbers starting from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, going to infinity. And we have -1, -2, -3, going to negative infinity. But that's just one-dimensional, one line. And the imaginary part is just, if you make an area, it's two-dimensional. And then you have a lot of numbers which are imaginary, but you can calculate with them. And that's what I do. That's what's different from my kind of theory and knowledge about loudspeaker than all the others. I just think about the theory. How does the driver work? How does the cabinet influence the driver? And what does the crossover do? Everything together, and then I transform the driver from a moving mechanical thing to the electrical world. And the mass is a capacitor. And the suspension of the driver, that's the inductor. And so I describe everything in an electrical circuit. And in electricity, we know how to find the transfer function of the whole system. And then I get equations, I solve them, and I get the value of the inductor, that's the suspension of the tweeter, I get a value of the capacitor in the electrical world, and that's the mass of the tweeter, and so on. And so I go from tweeter to mid-range to woofer, and all the values, they just describe the cabinet, and then I know all the components of the crossover, all the masses and suspensions of the drivers, and I know the size of the cabinet. And then I can transfer it back and build the speaker. You always have a model of a thing, and the diaphragm is just a model that it has no resonances in the material, and it works like a piston, moving backwards and forwards. And some materials behave like that, some do not. And so I always have to choose the materials for the drivers to get this piston behavior. And that's why I choose beryllium or diamond or aluminum for the tweeters. I have an aluminum sandwich or ceramic diaphragms for the mid, and for the bass, I have a very, very special hard aluminum. And all these materials fit perfect to their frequency range. And that's how I designed the materials for the drivers and the materials for the cabinet. That's why we use some wood cabinets and we use aluminum. But aluminum, yes, like diamonds, it's very, very expensive to have an aluminum cabinet, but it works perfectly. In my new products, when you have a new thing called TDC, when you make all these calculations, you found out that the driver has no time delay, but the mid-range and the woofer, they have a time delay due to the inductors in the crossover. And this is just a normal thing. Every two-way, three-way, four-way speaker has it. You cannot do anything against it. It's the analog technique. And people accept it. Some try to put the tweeter in the back, but then they have a reflection effect, diffraction. It's not good. So I thought maybe there is a way to do it electrical. If I do it in the electrical world, then I can compensate the effect exactly, because it comes of the effect of the inductors in the electrical world, and so I have to compensate. That's why we have a thing called TDC, time delay control, in the crossover. So the tweeter and the mid-range, they are delayed in signal, so that they coincide with the woofer. So all these three different ways, they just shoot at the same time. And it's something totally new in Hi-Fi. It's never been done before in Hi-Fi. People accept the time delay, but of course for music you have a very, very important thing, that's the pulse response. Because if a drummer just hits a little bit too late, all the band and the orchestra, they're out of phase then. They lose the tempo and everything. So it's very important to have this exact impulse, this transience. That's music. That's the core of the music. It took me some time to find it out and how to calculate and how to make the compensation network for it. But here now it's a three-way speaker, and we have 64 components inside the crossover. And the TDC is part of the crossover. It's inside the middle of the crossover. And so all these things together work perfect, and you have a wonderful impulse response. That's all the press always tells us, best impulse response ever measured. And so you see it works. And if you listen, you'll find out, yes, it works. Each kind of music, doesn't matter, classic, pop, jazz, doesn't matter. You'll hear it immediately. The music is correct. It's time aligned. It's wonderful. It's like if it's playing real. It's the Darc 250. Yeah, a perfect example for our theory of loudspeaker designing is Darc 250. Darc means dynamic aluminum rib construction. So this cabinet is built up of single ribs, and these ribs are made of aluminum. And aluminum is just perfect material for cabinet, but it rings like a bell. So you have these damping ribs in between, just to kill all these resonances and propagation of sound. That's an example for choosing a material for the cabinet. Just the material for the tweeter, high range, mid range. Woofer stapling are made of heavy aluminum to shoot perfect space. Here we have ceramic, light material with a heavy magnet for mid range, and best material ever, it's diamond. Diamond is very, very light, very hard, and tough. So it behaves like a piston, it's back and forth without any resonances. So these materials together with the cabinet and the crossover and a special thing called TDC, time delay control. All these things build up a perfect speaker. And the time delay control is here even more important than the three-way speaker, because this is a four-way speaker. You need to delay the tweeter, mid-high, mid-range, all come together with the roof. And therefore we have 3 different time delay control circuits inside. And this speaker has more than 17 components inside the frequency. Because it's symmetrical crossover, the driver is not connected to the ground. It's connected in the middle between plus and minus. And so the feedback to the amplifier is just contrast, and it's easy to drive. And all these things together with a lot of skills about the materials make up a perfect speaker. And this speaker here has won the Gold Ear Award this year from the Absolute Sound magazine, Product of the Year, and sealed Best Speaker Ever Tested. So I think that really proves what I told you. And it takes just 10 seconds listening. 10 seconds. And then you will be convinced.